I want to tell you something before I begin. I have been inside abandoned buildings before. Factories, schools, parking structures. I have walked through places that haven't heard a human footstep in decades and felt nothing except the mild, manageable discomfort of being somewhere you're not supposed to be. Hargrove Memorial Hospital was different. Hargrove Memorial was the kind of different that doesn't leave you. The hospital closed in October 1987. Officially, the reason was funding. Budget cuts, administrative restructuring, the usual language institutions use when they don't want to say what actually happened. But if you dig, and I dug, you find something in the county health records from September 1987. A single internal memo, 3 paragraphs long, requesting the immediate closure of the 4th-floor psychiatric ward due to what the memo describes as a pattern of patient behavior that cannot be explained by existing medical frameworks. The 4th floor was sealed first. The rest of the hospital followed 3 weeks later. Nobody ever said why. I went in through a ground floor window at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Alone. Just me, a flashlight, a camera, and the kind of confidence that evaporates the moment you're actually standing inside a place like this. The ground floor was what you'd expect. Overturned furniture. Broken glass. The specific smell of abandonment, dust and mold, and something underneath that I can only describe as preserved. Like the air itself had been sitting undisturbed for so long it had forgotten how to move. Old wheelchairs lined one corridor, facing the same direction, perfectly spaced, as if someone had arranged them that way and simply never came back to put them away. I told myself the wheelchairs meant nothing. I kept walking. The 2nd floor was patient rooms. Doors open. Beds still made, sheets gray with age but tucked in with a precision that felt deeply wrong for a place that had been empty for nearly 4 decades. Personal items still on the bedside tables. A glass. A book. Reading glasses folded neatly beside a lamp that would never turn on again. These were not the belongings of people who knew they were leaving. These were the belongings of people who expected to come back. I stood in one doorway for a long time, looking at a child's drawing taped to the wall above a bed. A house. A sun. 2 stick figures holding hands outside. The crayon had faded but the tape was still holding. Still holding after 37 years in an empty room in an abandoned hospital on a Tuesday night. I kept walking. The 3rd floor is where I first heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. Above me. On the 4th floor, the sealed floor, the floor the memo had flagged, the floor nobody had officially entered since 1987. Slow, deliberate footsteps moving in a straight line from one end of the corridor to the other. Stopping. Then returning. Then stopping again. The pattern of someone doing rounds. I stood completely still and listened to those footsteps for 4 minutes. They never varied. Same pace. Same route. Same pause at each end before turning back. The footsteps of someone who had been walking this route for so long that the route had become the only thing left. I told myself it was structural. Old buildings settle. Pipes expand. I told myself every reasonable thing a person tells themselves when they are standing alone on the 3rd floor of an abandoned psychiatric hospital at 1 a.m. listening to something walk back and forth above their head. Then the footsteps stopped. And something knocked on the ceiling directly above where I was standing. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. Like it knew exactly where I was. The stairwell to the 4th floor had been sealed with a sheet of plywood screwed into the door frame. The screws were old. Rusted. But 3 of them, the 3 at eye level on the right side, were newer. Shinier. Recently replaced. Someone had been here before me. Someone had opened this door and then resealed it and not told anyone. I pulled the plywood away from the frame. It came loose easier than it should have. The door behind it was unlocked. It swung open on hinges that made no sound at all, no creak, no resistance, as if they had been recently oiled. The 4th floor corridor stretched ahead of me in the beam of my flashlight. It was identical to the floors below, same layout, same doors, same overturned furniture. But two things were different. The smell was different, sharper, chemical, like antiseptic that had been applied recently rather than decades ago. And the doors were different. Every door on the third floor had been open. Every single door on the fourth floor was closed. I walked to the first door and pushed it open. The room was empty. Bed stripped. Nothing on the walls. Nothing on the bedside table. Completely, deliberately empty, not abandoned, but cleared. Like someone had removed every trace of the person who had once been here. I checked the second room. Cleared. The third. Cleared. The fourth room I almost didn't open. I heard breathing on the other side. Shallow. Slow. Perfectly even. The breathing of someone asleep, or something pretending to be. I stood with my hand on that door handle for what felt like a very long time. The footsteps had stopped when I came upstairs. The corridor behind me was silent. The antiseptic smell was stronger here, right outside this door, as if whatever was on the other side of it had been recently attended to. I opened the door. The room was empty. But the bed was warm. I pressed my hand flat against the mattress and the warmth was unmistakable, the specific, residual warmth of a body that had been lying there moments ago. The pillow still held the impression of a head. The sheets were pulled back neatly, folded down with the same precise tucking I had seen on the floors below. I turned around. The corridor was empty. But at the far end, at the very edge of my flashlight beam, one of the closed doors was slowly swinging shut. As if someone had just stepped through it. As if someone had been watching me from the doorway and retreated the moment I turned around. I left. I will not pretend I did anything else. I walked back down the stairwell and across the third floor and down to the ground floor and out through the window I came in, and I did not stop moving until I was in my car with the doors locked and the engine running. I filed a report with the County Historical Society about the resealed door and the recently replaced screws. They have not responded. I've submitted a records request for the full 1987 memo. It came back incomplete. The third paragraph, the one that presumably explains what the pattern of behavior actually was, has been redacted. I go back tomorrow night. I don't know why. I just know that something in that building is still keeping a schedule. Still making rounds. Still tucking in empty beds and sealed rooms on a floor that has been officially empty for 37 years. And I think it's been waiting for someone to finally come upstairs and notice. Don't go in alone. Don't open the doors that are closed. And if the bed is warm, don't look behind you. The hallway. Some floors should stay sealed. Subscribe. We're just getting started.